January 6, 2021 will go down as one of the darkest days in American history. The insurrection of an American government by a sitting U.S. president is one in which we will never, and we never thought would come true. But unfortunately, it did. Welcome to another episode of F-Indoc TV. I'm Tony J. And if you're new to this channel, please subscribe and click the bell and hit the like, and don't forget to share. When I first got the news that Trump protesters were storming the U.S. Capitol, I thought it was a dream. Seeing millions of whites on TV storm the Capitol to overturn a contested election. What does that remind you of, folks? Because for me, that reminded me of the movie Gangs of New York. It was the spirit of the movement. We saw the spirit of the movement on the steps of the Capitol, of the United States Capitol, looked a lot like Bill the Butcher in Gangs of New York. And something even similar to something that happened in history with the Know Nothing Party of the mid 1800s and 1850s. That day we saw the destruction of American values in the laying of nativism, tribalism, and xenophobic values laid bare before our very eyes. They crashed through the doors trying to overturn our most sacred values of democracy, which was the vote in the Electoral College. And if you were black and you sat home watching this on TV, you realized how much this was a slap in the face to everything that happened this summer. And it was. It was a slap in the face to Black Lives Matter. It was a slap in the face to the George Floyd protesters. Because you had a president who got on Twitter saying he was going to send the National Guard to shoot looters. When we get the shooting, we get the looting. Or when we get the looting, they get the shooting. He sent his own military force to tear gas peaceful protesters at Lafayette Square, all while holding up a Bible. It is a blatant example of hypocrisy in America. Trump was many things: a businessman, a celebrity, a president, and now a seditionist. He has gone down the worst hole known to man because, as history notes, Americans don't take kindly to seditionists, and history will not shine favorably on America's once most admired celebrity and businessman. The sun has finally set on the legacy that was once Trumpism. And the siege of our government will go down as one of the worst days since 9/11. It is profound. History will never respect a Jefferson Davis, a Robert E. Lee, and a Donald John Trump. The biggest question is, what does this mean for the country at large? It means the worst is yet to come. But from what I see, as an American and as a black man, we are on the brink of fringe hate groups becoming a reality in the United States again. There's going to be an increase in gun ownership, an increase in mass shootings, and worst. This will, and you mark my words, this will get ugly. Because even if Trump is impeached, we all know it doesn't end with Trump. The problem comes with the incoming administration, the Biden-Harris administration. If the Justice Department doesn't get its hands around these hate groups and these fringe far-right radicals and infiltrate these fringe hate groups, it's going to spread like wildfire. And that wildfire, that can't be put out, and it's going to be hard to maintain. If you think you saw Waco in the 90s, the Atlanta bombing in 96, wait until Joe Biden and Kamala Harris become president, and we're going to see what the far right ends up doing in this country. Because I can tell you and I can assure you, it doesn't end with Donald Trump. The saddest thing is all this could have likely been prevented if there were restrictions put in place. None of us were prepared. None of us were ready because too much of our time was spent on trying to control the worst global pandemic, which was coronavirus. The lesson I see in all this is we are far removed from the country we were 20 years ago. It seems like 9/11 gave us a feeling that if we stuck together, nobody would fuck with the United States ever again. But now we have to look at our friends, the people around us, to see if the rhetoric they are talking is a bigger indicator that someone might be an alt-right extremist or someone who holds animosities towards people of color, immigrants, or gay people. Today we are living in a false sense of security that is destroying us from the inside. And now we realize our government can't protect us from it. So we have to protect ourselves from it. I've had to cut off friends who were Trump supporters because their ideology may jeopardize my personal safety as a black American. To embrace a man like Trump is to embrace white bigotry and xenophobia. To embrace him is to embrace sexual assault and rape. To embrace him is to embrace incompetence. And if you're stupid enough to embrace him like a cult after what he's done, then I can't be around you anymore. People like Trump have helped to breed bigots behind closed doors. And what I mean by bigots, they're the ones that the silent majority that we don't see, that don't express their views outwardly, who smile in your face one minute and call you the N-word when you're not around. Some of these people, they're hard to pin down. They're the I'm not racist because I have a black friend type of people, or the ones who see African Americans in white t-shirts and assume they're gangbangers. That's the danger Trump has created for people of color. He dug up a dead hand that had long been buried in an Obama era and unearthed it so much that its maggots have spread to uninformed and uneducated whites who felt left out of the American political system. A refusal to change one's convictions, even if they are wrong, leads to death. And that's how Bill the Butcher and Gangs of New York and Donald Trump are so eerily similar. You see, the thing about Bill the Butcher, he died in Gangs of New York simply because he held on to the idea that the Irish immigrants were not deserving of being a part of the 5 points because they weren't natives. He saw them as trespassers, not as real Americans. But unfortunately, Bill the Butcher paid a heavy price for his beliefs, even though he held on to them so strongly. And the end result was he was killed by an Irishman. and then turned around and said, "Thank God I die a true American." Trump and those who follow his message will be signing their own death certificates in the long run. The attack on the Capitol was so significant because it was an attack on an institution of government. An institution of government that has been an example around the world as the model for the perfect government. The institution of government that has been known and has been expected to be the model for the whole global hemisphere that we fought wars over to overturn banana republics. But now our country has become close to staring down the barrel of a banana republic. The hypocrisy and the end result of this siege is that other world leaders will look at the United States as hypocrites because they see that we can't control our own functioning government, that the idea of democracy is one in which is dysfunctional and doesn't lead to a peaceful transition of power. And we are now faced with a domestic enemy in our own country that cannot be seen nor heard. The one that Orwell warned was going to become a reality. From the black perspective of this video and this podcast, we saw as a race the blatant hypocrisy of white supremacy. I can't yell Black Lives Matter without someone saying or rebutting All Lives Matter. I can't kneel for the national anthem out of protest because white people will say, well, that's un-American. But if I'm white, I can storm the seat of government because my president lost an election without getting tear gassed or having rubber bullets shot at me. It's white privilege at its finest. You desecrate your own national government. You destroy the head statue of John Lewis and deface art in the United States Capitol. You destroy an elected official's office. And then to add insult to injury, you put your feet on the desk of the House chamber in which the Speaker of the House sits. I mean, how is that American? And yet, how is yelling Black Lives Matter un-American? This has been another episode from F-Indoc TV. You can leave a comment, tell me what you think. like, and share, and tell me how this hypocrisy came to be. I'm Tony J, signing off. And don't forget to continue to fight indoctrination.